There was a time in American history where the consumption of alcohol was illegal across all ages. This point in time was called Prohibition and was brought on by the Protestant groups trying to reform America into a more socially conservative nation. The two Protestant groups that had the biggest role in the new amendment were the American Society for the Promotion of Temperance and the Women's Christian Temperance Society. Prohibition had little positive effect on the public. Almost everyone that wanted to continue drinking was able to. Prohibition did manage to accomplish some things, though, such as starting up organized crime in the country. Organized crime started because there was a new large demand for black market alcohol. It also limited the types of alcohol people were able to drink, forcing everyone to drink hard alcohol, which only increased alcohol problems. After Prohibition was repealed from the Constitution, the states were able to decide for themselves what the minimum legal drinking age should be. There was a range in ages from 18 to 21 for a little while until the federal government decided to abuse its power. In 1984, the government passed a bill that would cut millions of dollars from federal spending on roads in any state that did not have a minimum legal drinking age of 21. So we have historical evidence that making alcohol completely illegal was such a mistake that it spurred organized crime to form, and as of only 30 years ago, we had an arbitrary age set by the federal government. With this in mind, I ask you why we should not consider lowering the minimum legal drinking age. Looking at the list of freedoms granted at 18 years old, one might ask why drinking isn't on that list. The main freedom granted at 18 is that you can legally purchase and smoke cigarettes, which are much more harmful to yourself and others around you than alcohol. Furthermore, why do we as a nation feel completely comfortable allowing an age group that we don't entrust alcohol to the right to vote on the most powerful man in the nation? We either value alcohol over the president in this country, or some things need to be realigned. At 18 years of age, an individual in this country can sign up for the military and be deployed to fight for America's freedoms in a foreign land where statistically he would have more of a chance drinking over there than when he comes back to America. Many proponents to the higher drinking age will state reasons as to why the drinking age should be set at 21. I would now like to rebuff these reasons. First, the higher minimum legal drinking age limits underage drinking. This is simply not true. In a recent 2011 study, it was shown that 72% of high school seniors reported drinking. Compare this to the 62% of adults that are current drinkers, and anyone can see that any teenager that will drink later in his life is already drinking under the minimum legal drinking age. Why the majority of teenagers are breaking the minimum legal drinking age law is because there is almost no punishment for breaking the law. A measly 2 out of 2,000 cases of underage drinking result in arrest. This means that it would statistically take a kid to drink almost every day of the year for 3 years to likely be arrested. And at that point, they're nearly legal anyway. Second, the minimum legal age is set at 21 because it reduces fatal accidents caused by intoxicated drivers. There's a lot of misinformation regarding the upping of drinking age, lowering the fatalities of drunk drivers. For example, a study done 2 years ago by the federal government, before the federal government mandated the current legal drinking age of 21, the statistic of drunk driving fatalities was already in decline. Therefore, there was no significant correlation between the higher drinking age and the lower frequency of drunk driving fatalities. I've addressed 2 positive reasons that proponents of the current drinking age of 21 would give to support their side. I would now like to address the negatives of the 21-year-old drinking age. As I laid out earlier, the law is simply not respected by underage teens that choose to drink, which is the majority of them. This lack of respect for that law swells into lack of respect for other laws regarding drinking, such as carrying a fake ID. It is very common in my experience that kids under the legal age will acquire a fake ID so that they will be served in bars. This has many negative outcomes, such as compounded punishment if they happen to be the very small percent of drinkers that meet prosecution. It also leads to an attitude that if a law doesn't seem just, it isn't worth following. As a side note, it increases fake IDs in a time where terrorist attacks are still a very relevant threat, evidenced by the Paris attacks. The list of negatives continues with the fact that the minimum age law promotes binge drinking, There are multiple ways in which the law promotes binge drinking. For example, since these teenagers are drinking illegally, they're not able to do so in a legally established business or anywhere in public for that matter. They rather have to resort to fraternities, sororities, and house parties to drink. All of these settings will have absolutely no supervision and promote heavy binge drinking. Another way in which the current law promotes binge drinking is that there is a taboo for an underage teen to drink, and therefore drinking is alluring to teens. If the age was lowered to 18, there would be much more ability for the teen to drink in safe conditions and learn responsible drinking, while simultaneously removing the taboo that draws some teens to drink. The minimum legal drinking age of 21 also misses out on the economic power that the underage drinkers possess. Nearly 20% of alcohol sales in 2006 were consumed by underage drinkers. Another aspect of this argument that is important to be aware of is the fact that cultural standards have a large impact on consumption rate across all age groups. These standards will often trump local laws set by the governments, and I would like to compare some of the European laws and standards to America. Every country in Europe has a lower legal drinking age than America, with the majority of the countries being 18 years old to drink. A few countries, such as Germany and Spain, have an even lower minimum legal drinking age of 16 or 17. Europe in general has higher rates of consumption across all age groups, although they don't have statistically higher amounts of binge drinking. Looking at different countries in Europe itself, with the same minimum legal drinking age, there are stark differences, such as Denmark and Belgium. In Denmark, 49% of 15 and 16-year-olds reported being intoxicated in the last 30 days, compared to Belgium's 10%. And just for reference, America reported an 18% intoxication rate for 15 to 16-year-olds in the last 30 days. This shows the power that culture has on rates of consumption compared to the power that the laws hold. So in conclusion, there are many reasons for lowering the drinking age here in America. They range from protecting the credibility of other laws regarding drinking to providing a safe and educational place for teens to learn how to drink responsibly. Lowering the drinking age in America would also be more representative of our culture, considering over 70% of 18-year-olds have taken part in drinking. Many of the fears regarding lowering the minimum drinking age is either misguided or simply not true. And it is for all these reasons that I believe we should lower the legal drinking age in America. Thank you.